Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to another episode of Intuitive Creator Spotlight. Today, we have a very, very special episode because we have two guests. How exciting is that? And I cannot wait for you to hear about their stories. I am Stella, your host. If you're new to our channel, please take a moment to subscribe, watch this video, let us know your thoughts, and connect with our guests. Today we have Alma and Hrabbý here today with us. They are from Iceland, and their journeys and work have inspired many beautiful souls to align with their intuition and their spiritual paths. Hello, hello, Alma and Hrabbý. How are you?
Hello.
Hello.
Doing good.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for inviting us. It was really, really nice. We're very happy to be here.
It is a pleasure, it is a joy and honor. And also, I'm grateful for what internet can do for us because you are in Iceland, I record from the UK, so we can just connect online and talk about this beautiful subject that I can't wait to expand on. So I know that both of you started your spiritual paths in a very interesting way, and there are a lot of similarities for both of you there as well. Would you like to share like the biggest thing that happened for both of you that made you think, you know what, I'm ready to look deeper, I'm ready to look beyond what this world can see?
I think a lot of it started a long time ago. If my mom being a psychic medium, and there we started to connect, but it was always kind of focused on helping others. But even though we are very different, we have been friends for many years,
30-something years.
then we are still very different, but we've had similar paths, as you said. But the biggest thing that pushed us, because I had this deep knowing that I was supposed to work with my spirituality and work with other people, but working in the corporate world was not, giving me this space that I needed to really focus on it. And it was the same for both of us. But we had this very serious life exhaustion around a similar time. And that's where we knew we had to shift our focus and really connect with ourselves and stop focusing on what was external, like healing others or helping others, giving readings or something like that. And we needed to look within.
Yeah. I think it was, for me, it was just kind of giving up. I don't know if giving up is the right way, but when you have been heading one way your whole life, even though you're walking against all the red lights and they're blinking in your face, but you're just stubborn and you just say, I'm going there anyway. And you're not listening to your heart or intuition. Then our life exhaustion was really serious, and we both got very sick. And it was just a question, I think, of life and death. I think it was just, are we going to survive on this planet right now in this life, or are we just going to disappear?
Yeah. So we had to surrender.
Yeah, we had to surrender and admit that we could not control everything, and that we had a heart that we had to listen to. And and after we started to do that, then the miracles started to happen. So since then, we've just been, I would say, following the miracles.
Yeah, and I think we realized that we had to dig deeper.
Yeah, take responsibility also for our actions and for our choices in life, and understand why we made the choices that we made. That has been the biggest lesson, and also I think the most important thing to realize, that we are always responsible. It doesn't matter what happens to us in life, even though what happens to us may be outside our power. We are always responsible for how we deal with it afterwards, if we are going to be a victim or if we're going to learn and be a survivor and a winner in life.
Oh, I love that. To be a winner in life. This is a scary move, of course. Every time you would go from like one end to another, I mean, one direction to completely another direction, from corporate world to embracing this path that is very much like stepping into unknown. and you don't know what's going to happen. You just have to truly trust. It is scary. And with that, there are, of course, a lot of questions like, what is happening? What's gonna be next? But what a beautiful thing that both of you had each other and you were able to go through these moments together and keep this beautiful connection that you developed over time as well. Now, as you have had that experience in the corporate world, and now you've stepped into embracing spirituality, and we'll talk more about that, and then guiding others on this path as well. What would you say in terms of, like, if you were to walk back in that corporate world for one day or one week, how would you talk to your colleagues from the past about your journey?
Wow. About our journey since we left the corporate world?
Yes, and how it changed your life and why this is important.
Well, the thing is, I've met a few of them, and I've talked to a few of them, and I think being honest is number 1, 2, and 3. Just being honestly telling people what happened and why. And I think always when we speak about not following our heart, feeling trapped, not being fulfilled, going into our jobs every day, kind of resenting our the workplace, loving the people maybe, but not loving so much what we're doing. I think a lot of people can identify with that. And I could just see, the looks of my ex-colleagues' faces when I speak about my journey. I can see that a lot of them are still trapped inside of that world. And people want more out of life than that. But unfortunately, we are often, like you say, very scared of taking the steps necessary to live a fulfilled life and allow ourselves to be our whole selves and to be happy in life. We're always, like slicing the happiness away from our lives because maybe deep down inside we don't believe that we deserve it.
And I think we also need to focus on humanizing the corporate world.
Yeah.
We are dealing with humans, so we need to treat each other like humans.
Yeah.
And when we're pushing people and pushing ourselves all the time, it's not sustainable in the long run. And I think that's very important that we think about, the energy that we are made of energy, and everything is energy. So how is the energy in the workplace, and how does that impact the people that work there? Because there are so many great people I worked with. I mean, I loved what I did before, and I have really great memories, but it was more the setup, the energy that was created rather than the people. So that we are dealing with humans, we need to make a change, and it needs to be all around people and not just profits.
Yeah. And I think also because within the corporate world, we speak a lot about equality here in Iceland, and we are showing numbers that there are more and more women stepping into the corporate world, being like high ranked positions and taking more responsibility. And that's supposed to humanize, the corporate world. But when women step into the corporate world and are expected to behave like men, and they have this tremendous pressure on them to be tough and to behave like all the big guys have done, it doesn't really matter if it's a man or a woman, it's the same energy. It's the same masculine energy and feminine energy. Both are unbalanced, and it's not going to do anything for the corporate world other than just there's a different genitalia on the person,
Yeah.
That's kind of the only change.
Any gender you have, yeah, it doesn't
matter.
really matter. The energy needs to be balanced, and there is so much, the feminine and masculine energies must be in balance, and we must, release all this hurt and all this past, all these past events that have led us to this space that we are in now, where there is clear imbalance.
And we're always, I think, in the corporate world, we're always working from a space of lack. It's always this fear of lacking something. That's why we have to gain everything. And if we're constantly working from that place, we will always be imbalanced. It's just, it's an obvious thing. It's a given.
Absolutely. And all those results and goals are achieved based on the work that people, human beings are doing in those spaces. So I absolutely love your message, and thank you so much for sharing that. Before we started this interview, I mentioned something that I noticed on your website, and I really want to bring this up. And by the way, to everyone who's watching us, please check out the description of this video to know how to connect with these two beautiful souls. So on your website, when I went to the About Me or About Us section, you had your photos, and next to your photos, you had another photo. And that was really special to me, and I thought it's absolutely fascinating. Do you want to talk more about that other photo? I'm not going to even like name it or something. I want you to share with us what that is.
Yeah, those are our personal light codes. A few years back, I started channeling light codes from Archangel Metatron. And these light codes are, they are our unique fingerprint of light in this world. And when we connect to beings from other dimensions, or even from other galaxies or stars or whatever, they don't see our physical form. They see our fingerprint of light, or how we look as light beings. And so the personal light code is, yeah, us in light form. And it also contains connection points to all possible energies in the world. So when we are aware of our personal light codes and we connect to it consciously, and we expand our consciousness and our energy grid. You want to add something?
Well, we also have light codes in our chakras that we work with through our workshops, the longer courses we have, like your personal transformation. That's a 9-month course where we ignite the light codes in 12 of our chakras. And then we have an advanced course, Living Your Purpose, where we add 5 chakras. So these light codes in the chakras, they connect to our personal light code and make the personal light code stronger than, it would be if you only work with your personal light code.
Yeah, there are many different types of light codes, and we explain it on our website. So it's maybe too short time to go into depth about the light codes here, but yeah.
Absolutely. And I find this fascinating. And I absolutely love how you explained it, that this is how we are being recognized in this beautiful, vast space. And the reason why I think this is such an important message is because in this human existence, we can get lost into the idea of like, oh, this is my identity, this is how I look, this is my name, this is my color, whatever. And when you think about it, it is so much more than just our physical eyes can see. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because when I looked at both of your pictures, each of you, and there was your physical face picture, and then the other one, I was able to feel the energy in both. And I was like, this is absolutely incredible. And thank you for doing this kind of work here on this planet, because I know that we need this healing. We need to bring this into our existence. And so I know that you are the founders of a beautiful academy, Starcodes Academy. Can you share with us when on your journey you decided, okay, it's time for us to start this, and we can't keep it to ourselves anymore?
It was basically after Hrabbý started channeling the light codes, we didn't know.
2020 was just after COVID started.
And we didn't know really what it was, because Hrabbý was showing me all those pictures, and I was like, okay, this is something special. And we even showed it to other people, but we didn't have a clear, idea of what it was and what we were supposed to do with it. But we had known before that we were supposed to work together. some years before we had, done a lot of planning, but then we were still in the corporate world. But at this point in time, we decided to ask Archangel Metatron what we should do with it. And we were told that there were 12 light codes for 12 chakras in this stack of photos that we had, or light codes.
100 photos, it was a lot of drawings.
And we decided to sit down and start channeling the material. We started receiving messages. So we met every week for 13 weeks.
Yeah, and we got the message that we should start by igniting the light codes within our own chakras. So every week we met and we ignited one light code, and we did work around that, and received messages and guidance and wisdom about the chakra that we were working with, and challenges connected to that.
And after the 13 weeks, we were told we should go another round.
But they hadn't yet told us that we should do something with this. So we were like, we have scientific minds, we were project managers from the corporate world. So we were like, and then what? And then what? And they would say, just wait, just trust us. So this was like the biggest trust exercise of our life, I think.
Because at this point in time, obviously everything was locked down. We had gone through our rehabilitation program that we have, this public program we have here in Iceland. They told us we needed more time, and we felt that we were not ready to go out and do any work. But at the end of the second round, the second 13 weeks, so we were up to half a year of working through this, we felt so much better. We had done so much healing through receiving this material, to going through all the challenges that came up with working through the chakras. And we were told that we should take other people through the same, and that they gave us names of a few people that should form a test group. And while we took the test group through this, we channeled even more material and some meditations and attunements. And at the end of that process with the test group, we were through 9 months.
Yeah, that was spring of 21. I finished with the test group.
And after this 9-month work, then
it's also everything we do is a pregnancy. It's always 9 months, even though we don't plan it. It's
we knew we had the course was ready, and it was ready to be taught to bigger groups. And we basically didn't do anything but, receive this material. We would never have been able to put this together with our minds, because this is a perfect process. And now we have taken, since the test group, we're taking our 4th group through this, and just this process is so amazing. And it's something that we could not think about, we could not put together with our heads. It has to come from, it comes from the light beings, and it comes from our hearts. And just putting this together, this perfect process of, birthing a new us.
Birthing a new life.
Yeah.
And it's been such a privilege just to follow people through this 9 months pregnancy, before delivering their new life, and see the amazing changes people make. It's quite a short period of time. I mean, it's only 9 months, but people make amazing changes. And then, of course, we have the additional course called Live Your Purpose, which is 5 months. 5 months. Yeah. So that's
yes, absolutely. When you hear about like 9 months, 6 months, 1 year, it sounds like forever. But actually, as we're recording this video, I am myself going through a 2 years course, and which involves a lot of healing and a lot of going deeper. And when I started, I thought, oh my God, 2 years, and I'm nearly at the end of the first year. And I think, oh, now I feel like 2 years will not be enough for me, because I want more and more and more and more and more. And it's fascinating, because yes, 9 months can sound like a lot, but when you're in that process of healing, it's like you lose the track of time. And it's fascinating, isn't it? Can you share with all of us, because we talked a lot about light codes and all of these beautiful magical aspects. But if you were to share with us an example from your case studies, or after helping someone that went from like one kind of situation to like evolving and developing their life and getting to a place where everything is different for them, what kind of example can you give, and how your guidance helped them, so that we can bring the awareness of what this kind of work can do for people?
Well, the work is a lot about, it's built on guided meditations a lot. And that means that people are going within and finding their own truth. So it's not so much us telling them what they should do with their lives, but there are some, they have some sessions with us as well, where they can ask advice and get some guidance about certain things. I think maybe in a lot of cases, people have been changing jobs. They've been leaving a job that they didn't like and maybe starting their own companies. People have been moving, divorcing, doing really big life changes. And I think what everyone has in common is that they have stronger boundaries. They are not so codependent. They put themselves first. And people that have been living for other people start living for themselves.
And I think one of my favorite examples is when I went to a shop here in Iceland, and I met this lady who owns the shop, and she said, "Oh, didn't my mom do a course with you?" And I said, "Yeah, she did." And I was just talking with my siblings about how amazing the changes have been that she's gone through, and how much happier she is, and she's doing things for herself, and she's setting boundaries, and she's just taking much better care of herself than before. And this lady, she set boundaries with her children, with her grandchildren. She has a big family. Stopped working as much, and started going out in nature. That was one of her greatest discoveries, was really the nature, and she lives close to nature, and now she's really enjoying it. All of these things that made her life more fulfilled, made her happier, and her children, all of them, she has many, they noticed this, and they were talking about this, and this was some months after she finished the course. And I always love stories like this, and when people really step out of situations that they have been kind of not stuck in, but just they have settled for something, instead of going after what they really want.
What a beautiful gift. What a beautiful gift to all of these people. And yeah, it's interesting how we are then guided to certain places and courses. Like this lady, she was guided to your course, and she found the right place for her journey. And you mentioned you mentioned nature, and you mentioned how beautiful it is for this person in particular to connect with nature more. To me, nature is something that I cannot imagine living without. I need to go outside. I can hug a tree. I can talk to nature. It's just something super special for my soul and heart. And I know that both of you work with Mother Earth a lot, and you are so connected with this energy. Can you share what a significant role this played in your journey, and then in your work of helping others?
I think we both come from the countryside. We lived in the countryside as kids, so we felt, close to nature. I've been living in the city for longer, but my connection as a teenager, for example, was through horses and being out in nature with my horse. But I kind of lost this connection, and I reconnected during my process of the healing process after my life exhaustion. And we both got a dog. I think that was one part of our reconnection with nature, to go out and really feel the healing benefits of nature. And for me, whenever I feel anxiety coming up, or I'm very stressed, I go out and I go for a walk, and I connect with nature. So just this nature for me is a place where I can just breathe and be. And there is all this healing power there and all these connections to such different energies, and they're all willing to share and connect and allow me to, just process whatever I need to process.
And I think nature brings us what a lot of us long for. We all long for this feeling of being safe and being embraced and being loved unconditionally. And grounding ourselves every day is so important on our journey, because if you are on a spiritual journey and you don't ground yourself, you're just floating in the air and you don't have the tools you need to ground the wisdom and take it in as you go along. But just knowing that there is someone that you can always turn to and that will always embrace you and always love you and keep you safe. That's what Mother Earth does for us. And what we have been doing as well is we work a lot out in nature, and we are doing opening light portals and activating energies, and both in Iceland and abroad. So we are called to do all kinds of work all over the world, and that's very exciting. Very exciting for us to do so. And sometimes we feel like we're living in a Lord of the Rings movie.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
We call it our community project.
Yes.
Because that's what we love to do in our spare time, is going out and work with nature and basically clearing up energies that we humans have left, even energies we've left in past lives.
And there are so many people that are being called to nature, but they don't know where to start or what to do. So a free online workshop on the 11th of November, where we just told people what we are doing and invited people to connect so we can talk. People that are feeling called to nature, we can just talk, we can discuss and learn from each other.
Yes, because I mean, sometimes people underestimate the power of sharing, like everybody's stories, because as you share your story, there is something that is helping another person, because we relate to different parts of other stories, and that really helps. Would you say that how do you know when it's time for you to go to a certain place, like physical place, to work on that land? How do you know when it's time to go there?
We just know. We can't explain it. It's just a nudge. We look at each other and say,
yeah. I feel the need to go there.
Yeah.
And it's just a feeling that comes up. And sometimes I get, pictures in my head, or I hear about the place over and over again. And then I'm like, okay, I need to look into this.
So sometimes we don't even know what specific place we're supposed to visit. We just know that there's an area that needs us. And then we decide that, okay, we're gonna take 2 days and drive over the Icelandic, through the Icelandic highlands, because we know we're supposed to. And then we just know that that 2 days we will be traveling with our hearts, which means that when we feel that we need to stop and do work, we will. And so we don't have like a predetermined schedule. So you can find us, up on a mountain at 1 o'clock in the night, lighting bonfires and playing our drums and chanting and doing all kinds of weird things. But we're just following our intuition, doing what the light tells us to do. And we love doing that. It fulfills us tremendously. And it's so good to be able to give back to the earth that gives us so much.
And at the same time, we have this soul specialization, that we are to help souls into the physical body and also to exit this life. And a lot of our work is, when we do the work, it's often for souls that need to pass over.
When we are opening the light portals, we are helping souls that are stuck here. Souls and stuck energy. It's not always just souls. It's just energy in physical or spiritual form. But after we had been opening the light portals for, I think, 2 years, our guides told us, well, it's not only the souls here on earth that you're helping, because you're also helping souls going between levels, when they're preparing to go into the next life, you're helping them to go through as well. And we are helping other dimensions that can use the light portals when they need to clear. They can use the light portals to help them clear in their dimension. So we were like, oh, that's very interesting.
What do you experience when you open these light portals and you're helping these souls? What do you see or feel, or what comes to you in that moment?
When we're opening light portals, we work mostly with Archangel Michael, and we work with the dragons. We work with the elemental dragons and just any light being that wants to help us or needs to help us at that time. I think for me, at least, there's so much happening that tuning into everything would be like an overload of information. But I mean, we can sometimes experience that there is energy that doesn't want to go, but we have very clear instructions that when we open a light portal, there isn't an option to stay. Either the energy goes into the light portal, or Michael will take the energy to what we call the old earth, where souls that are not going to ascend will, or at least not for some years, maybe hundreds of years, they will stay there and just continue in their third dimension life.
And I think this is all we get guidance. And, for me, experiencing just that, how the light is working, basically, and sensing the energies being cleared, but I'm just there to hold space.
Yeah.
So I've stopped trying to define, because before I had a lot of visions and I heard a lot, but now it's just more sensing and feeling that this is being done, and I don't need to see it. I don't need to analyze it, and I'm just there as this conduit, so that for the light, so that this is happening. And we believe there are obviously no coincidences, because we've done this work in different places. And to get to a city like London and have it empty, whenever, when do you get to London and there are almost no people around? And I was doing light work in London one day, and it was so warm that there was no one around. So that they create the spaces that are needed for us to do this work.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think it also taught us this work, because we've had energy screaming into our ears and, trying to scare us off. But what we've learned through this is that our light is always stronger. There's nothing stronger than our light. And our light, your light, her light, my light, doesn't matter which light it is, the darkness has no power over us if we believe.
I love that you're bringing this up. And actually, I'm going to ask you this question, because I do hear often people saying, oh, how do I protect myself from darkness? How do I run away? How do I block it? How do I just do something with it? What would you say to someone who is thinking about that?
Trust your light.
Yeah, trust your light. And you need to be conscious of your energy, and you have to, grounding is number one. You need to ground yourself every day. And clearing your energy is also very important, because we are people, and people are codependent, and we form all kinds of energy connections to all kinds of situations and people. So we need to clear our energy, and then we need to protect ourselves. And we can do that with our light. We don't need anything else than our own light.
For me, it's as simple as breathing into my heart and expanding my light around me, and that's enough.
Yeah.
Because my light is stronger than, any darkness. But grounding and clearing is something we have to do every day.
Absolutely.
And that's just basic hygiene for us.
Spiritual hygiene, we call it.
Absolutely, yes. One of my friends, she's very strong on spiritual hygiene, and I love that you're mentioning this here today, because yes, like you said, you move through from place to place, from connection to connection, and so it is important to be aware of that. And you mentioned about Mother Earth as well, and as you expressed how important that connection is to you. I remember that every time I step into the sea and I want to connect with the energy of the water, I always think water lets us in no matter how we look, how old we are. And you were talking about that unconditional love, and we always want to feel safe and loved and appreciated. And I truly believe that nature is that space where we can feel that unconditional love. We do spend so much time indoors now with like the digital world, and especially during the pandemic a few years ago, we spent so much time indoors. But it just feels like nature is calling us back to reconnect with all the elements, to work with all the elements in nature as well. And it is important to bring this into awareness. So when you share about light beings, I know that you work with angels. You said you work with dragons, with light beings. How do you recognize who you're working with, or is this not important? Because I know, Alma, you mentioned like at some point you just know the work is done. But when you work with a spiritual being, you know, is it important for you to know who is there?
In some cases, we ask, like when we are channeling for our courses or for our membership that we have in Icelandic, we ask who is there, because we do have, for example, for the membership, we work with an angel, or we work with or we work with a master or a goddess. Then we ask who it is and who is giving the information. But otherwise, we have a team. There is a team working with us here at Starcodes Academy. So we don't really have to ask for this light being said this and this one said that. It doesn't really matter. And also, I had kind of a crisis at one point in time when I was getting all this information, when I stopped hearing. When I stopped, it was like someone was talking in my ear, and I just opened my mouth and something came out. And I was like, where is this coming from? So I talked with this through with my healer, and she said, doesn't really matter. And because I was thinking, is this coming from me? Then that wouldn't be of the same value as if it was coming from a light being. But obviously, going through lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, both here on Earth and on other planets, then we collect all this wisdom, and the more work we do, the better we connect with our heart and our soul, and it starts speaking through us. And it doesn't really matter for me if it's my soul that is talking through me with all its wisdom, or if it's a light being, because we are all one.
I think we often block a lot of the information available to us because our human brain is so occupied with categorizing. We're always trying to get the information. Okay, what does this creature look like? What's the light? What's the color of the light? How high? What does it, and because we are so occupied with that, everything that this being is trying to communicate with us, it just kind of floats away because we block it. And we have a lot of discussion with that here about, because there's a lot of elementals, of course, in Iceland and everywhere in the world. And people are very occupied, is this an elf? Is it a fairy? Is it a troll? What is it? And I decided that I don't care. I don't care. It's energy, it's light, it's love, and I'm communicating with it. If I want to know, I ask. But as I kind of develop my spirituality, that becomes less important. It's just I'm speaking to light, and that's the only thing that matters. And just letting go of this need to categorize everything, because that I think is also creating the biggest problems in our world.
Yeah.
Are we straight? Are we gay? Are we brown? Are we white? All these boxes are just they're hindering us in just being a humanity of love. So I think we need to push the boundaries also in spirituality and just let go of trying to control everything and knowing everything and categorizing everything, because it doesn't matter.
I just think there is one thing that we learned, and that we know we have to request is that everything that comes to us and through us is of 100% pure light.
Yeah, that's just the intention that we always put.
Yeah.
So nothing else is allowed. And then we just trust. We have put down the intentions, and our guides, they will make sure that nothing will be here unless beings of 100% light. And we've never had problems. So
No.
Oh,
And not since we started working like this.
yeah, but when we were still afraid, of course, and we were doubting ourselves, of course, every time you start doubting and you let fear in, then the other energies, they
yeah,
try to get to you. So you have to trust yourself.
Yes, absolutely. And it just reminded me of like a time years and years and years ago when I was studying tarot cards, and I was thinking, oh, I need to learn about the symbols. I was curious to understand like what they mean. And then I started doing readings with them, and I felt like something was missing. And I was like, what is missing? What is missing? And then I heard clearly that what was missing was me allowing for messages to come through in a way that was needed for that person, not to describe the symbols on the cards. And I was like, oh my God. And that's why even like when I did like all of these thousands of readings, I was like, I get it now. My style became the type of style where you don't describe the symbols, you just give the guidance or open a new perspective or ask a new question that maybe that person never considered before. And it's like, yes, you can call it a reading, but even there, when somebody comes and works with me, it's like, it doesn't matter if it's a reading or a guidance. It is a time where you connect with each other, and that connection was needed. And I'm very grateful we are connecting here today, here in this interview, because I truly believe this information is super valuable, especially for the times that we're living. So before we wrap up this episode, I want to ask, what do you feel like has been the biggest misconception about spirituality on this beautiful path that you're on, maybe hearing from people or society or things around you?
I think that spirituality is woo-woo. Spirituality is and should be a part of everyday life. And as Hrabbý often says, it doesn't need to be a ritual because life itself is a ritual. And it's that, we can be spiritual and we don't need to have all these processes around it, because we can simply talk to the universe or God or whatever we want to call that power. We can talk to Mother Earth, but we just need to have a few basic rules, like grounding, like clearing, and like using our light, and stop being afraid. It doesn't need to be complex.
I think that also one of the big misunderstandings is that if you go to yoga twice a week and you go to a tarot reading maybe once a month or once every 6 months, then you are a very spiritual person. That has nothing to do with spirituality, and I think that what we need to understand is that spirituality is connecting to our hearts and following our hearts and what our hearts want and where they want to guide, where our heart wants to guide us. And that means taking responsibility for our lives. So we need to be able to look at ourselves and our choices until now and understand where we went off course and how we can correct it and make sure that it doesn't happen again. Nobody is going to give you the answers. The answers are all within. And really, we don't need anything else than ourselves. I mean, of course, it's always really good to have oracle cards and crystals to support you, but we don't need all these like ayahuasca, all these things. We don't need them. And I know this will probably be a controversy, but just because a human being thousands of years ago decided to try if a plant worked in some way for them, doesn't mean it was the correct choice at the time. It doesn't mean that it's a holy choice that we should follow religiously after that. You know, we are all humans, we make choices, and that was just one of the choices. So we need to understand that and just feel in our hearts for ourselves what is correct for us. And there are no quick fixes when it comes to developing ourselves or our spiritual path. We need to do the work, not only talk the talk, but we need to walk the walk. And that can be ruefully boring and difficult, but you know, the wins are big and our lives get so much better when we just listen to our hearts and take responsibility for ourselves.
Can I add one more?
No, I'm done. Those were the final words. No.
Because I think another misconception is that you need to do the hard work alone.
Yeah.
Even though you don't need anything more than yourself, there is always a benefit in connecting.
Yeah.
And we will not go and you know raise our frequency without connecting to other people. And allowing someone to hold space for you also shows that you trust yourself enough to be vulnerable and you trust someone else to hold the space for you. And that's for me where a huge part of the growth has come from, is that trusting someone else to hold space for me and making sure that, you know, I can have the space I need to grow, because staying at home alone and working through things, it's going to take much longer.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the major messages that we've gotten through our channelings about the fifth dimension, for example, is that nobody will go into the fifth dimension alone. We have to go there as a community. And that means that you cannot go into the fifth dimension by staying in a cave alone for 3 months. You know, that will not bring you there. You need to trust yourself and you need to trust other people. We need to do this together.
Wow, that's a really beautiful message. Everything that you both shared. And I know the question was about like misconceptions about spirituality, but you both brought in so much explanation and very much needed messages to be shared here with everyone. Is there anything that you can advise or suggest to someone who maybe is watching this episode and they're thinking, well, I'm just about to start my journey, or I have started it, and I want to have more confidence to trust myself, but how do I do that? What would you tell them?
First and foremost, listen to people that you feel a heart connection to, and also trust your intuition, because not everything you read and listen to is going to connect with your heart and your truth. So find your own truth.
Yeah. And just start slowly. Don't expect, you know, the big magic to happen, you know, all at once. It's a journey, and you will have big revelations and amazing experiences along the way, but you have to allow them to unravel. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Trust your heart.
Yeah, trust your heart
and meditate.
And know the difference between knowledge and wisdom. That's very important, because knowledge is what everyone else has written about their experiences. That's knowledge. The only wisdom you have access to is in here.
What a beautiful message. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate your presence here today. I appreciate everyone watching us. And if you've watched this episode, please like the episode, let us know your thoughts, subscribe to this channel, and check out the description of this video to know how to connect with these two beautiful, beautiful human beings. Thank you, and see you again next time. Bye.